Good morning. I'm Acevedo, the police chief here in Aurora. With me, I've got our deputy chief, Heather Morris, Lieutenant Prey, who was our watch commander this morning, our chief of staff, Reagan Pena. We've got Chief Mark Hillebrand from our investigations unit, and Commander McGee, who's our District 2 commander and actually was the on-duty executive. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what occurred this morning. I want to thank everybody for your patience. This morning at about 2:32 in the morning, we had two patrol officers from our District 1 Patrol Division that were monitoring the mesh cameras at this location. They were monitoring activity at the bus stop behind me. If you know anything about this area, this is a pretty high activity area. We've got a lot of complaints about drug dealing, drug use, theft in this area right here. And so these officers had some additional free time this morning, and our patrol officers are actually doing proactive policing by monitoring the mash cam. At about 2:32, they actually spotted what appeared to be a confrontation between two male adults, and at one point they noticed an individual produce a firearm, a handgun, appears to be potentially a semi-automatic handgun, a pistol. At 2:34, the officers aired that they were making contact, and also that it included an individual who had pointed a gun at another male individual. And at that point, at 2:34 in the morning, a call was generated by our dispatch center. At the same minute, at 2:34, the officers aired that shots had been fired. The officers then continued to give commands to the suspect, who did get struck by one officer who's discharged his service pistol. The individual was not complying initially, and they had waited for additional officers to put together a quick react team, and at 2:38, within a matter of a few minutes, they were able to move up on the individual that was down, which is a male adult, and they immediately started life-saving measures. At 2:47 a.m., AFR actually transported our suspect that was down to University Hospital nearby, and at 3:01 a.m., the individual unfortunately succumbed to his wounds and was pronounced deceased. I can tell you that the entire OIS was captured on video, on body-worn camera video. We do have the actual mesh cameras captured the what appeared to be a felony menacing potentially with the firearm with our officers, and the confrontation that occurred that we're still trying to investigate whether it was attempted robbery or what we have. That's under investigation. So keep in mind, this is all preliminary. It's early on in the investigation, and there's a lot of work to be done as usual. We also have confirmed a firearm is present at the scene that is believed to be part of was in possession of the individual that has been shot. No officer has been injured, and unfortunately, some of the individuals here that might have witnessed this did not want to cooperate and refused to cooperate when our officers attempted to get information from them, and they've scattered into the wind. Quite honestly, there's a lot of unhoused individuals in this area, and sometimes they cooperate, sometimes they don't. I will tell the community that our body-worn cameras they were on. We have sound, we have body-worn camera video, and we know we're going to have video from these businesses that we will be analyzing as well. As you can imagine, again, this is a preliminary information. Our officers, the shooting officers, only two officers on scene when the shooting occurred. They're the two that were actually monitoring the location on the mesh cameras. The shooting officer that discharged his firearm is a 4-year veteran of the department. He's been out with our department for 4 years. It's a male officer, and the partner officer, the backup officer, has been on the department for 1 year. He's also part of District 1. Both officers were transported to our headquarters, where they will now be part of two investigations. One is the 13th that has been called, and they'll be here eventually, and the other one's the Internal Affairs investigative team. We also had our our firearms investigation unit has been on scene to look at the scene, to get eyes on the scene, and they'll be part of the investigation into our officers from the administrative standpoint. Our MCU has been here, our major crimes unit has been here, and they will investigate, obviously, what occurred at the bus stop between the two male adult individuals. We do have one person that has been detained and taken into custody. Again, we're not sure exactly what his role is. That's part of the investigation, and as we develop more information, we will pass it on. I want to thank the community here for their patience. We have opened up westbound traffic on Colfax at Havana, and we've opened traffic north and south on Havana, north of this intersection here at Colfax. Please try to avoid the area if at all possible. RTD has been notified from the Ward Go, and they've been updated in terms of the closures. We expect this closure to remain probably for the next few hours. So if you can avoid Colfax and Havana, it's not a bad idea. So I want to thank our lieutenant, our watch commander, who was on scene very quickly, Lieutenant Prey, and did a great job of managing the scene, controlling the scene, actually getting everything organized, and just a fantastic job and fantastic leadership. So I want to thank Lieutenant Prey, and I want to thank our commander for calling us right away. We've been out here since a little bit after 3 a.m. And again, we'll start the investigations. There'll be an administrative investigation with Internal Affairs. There'll be an independent CERT team investigation into the officers' actions leading up to it. And as soon as we can, we'll provide an update. With that, again, it is early on in this investigation. So as we get more information, we'll put it out to the community. The suspect is a male adult, or the deceased individual is a male adult, and he appears to be Caucasian, either Caucasian or of Hispanic descent, but that's not been determined at this point, and because we have not been able to identify him. So with that, I'm going to open up to any questions. But again, it's early on in the stages in this investigation, and we've got a lot of work to do. Anyone that has seen it, has any information, may have witnessed it, please contact the District Attorney's Office in the 18th District or our Major Crimes Unit at the Police Department.
Can you give a quick recap of what happened when officers got here on scene?
When the officers arrived, by the way, I have reviewed the body-worn camera video. That's something we've started here. We review it at the scene. And the officers, you can see them on video. You can see the individual running away. And the individual that was armed, that they knew to be armed because they had witnessed him produce the pistol on the mesh cam, started running away. The officer started yelling some commands to the individual to stop, to put his hands up, and at one point there's a discharge of the firearm. Keep in mind that it happened very quickly. If you put it out at 2:34, and they broadcast shots fired at 2:34, so it's a matter of seconds from the arrival to the suspect running, the officer give him command, and the one officer discharging his firearm.
Was there any discharge from the suspect?
That's part of the investigation. I can tell you that when he produced that handgun, that you can see clearly on the mesh camera, it's hard to tell at this point whether he discharged a round. We have not canvassed the entire scene here. We have secured the scene, and we're waiting for our CSI and obviously the CERT team to arrive and process the scene probably in daylight. So I don't believe he discharged it when he was confronted by officers, but it's still yet to be determined. Again, it's very preliminary, the information I'm providing.
Did the officers just open fire that one time?
That's it. Just one officer opened fire. And again, they started as soon as they can get the REACT team together. They moved up on the individual because he was initially not compliant. And then they started CPR immediately once it appeared to them that he had lost consciousness. AFR arrived within a couple of minutes. They took over patient care, transported to the University Hospital, and sadly a few minutes later the suspect succumbed to his wounds. We have not identified the suspect at this point, or the deceased individual at this point, and we'll provide that information when we can. Any other questions?
Can you walk us through one more time what the officers were seeing on those cameras?
Yeah, and I've watched that too. We've all watched that, and so they were monitoring. You know, we this is a pretty high activity location. We get a lot of complaints, a lot of crime going on here, and these businesses and people that come to these locations, to the stores behind us. We want to create a safe environment. So they had the time to do some proactive policing. They were watching, monitoring that bus stop right behind there, which right behind me, when you can see clearly confrontations between the individual that's deceased and another individual who has been taken into custody and is detained right now at police headquarters. At one point, it looks like another individual wanted to grab the backpack, and then this individual produced a handgun and menaced that individual. So again, we don't have any information right now as to what that confrontation was about, but the officers can clearly see. You can clearly see that then the deceased individual did come out with a handgun and pointed it at this individual we have detained at police headquarters. That was clear.
At any point, did the suspect raise the handgun towards the officer?
You know what? I can't. It's too hard to tell. We're going to have to slow down the video and analyze it closer. Unfortunately, when you look at it here, the way we look at it, we're not able to slow it down. It just doesn't have the capability, so we'll have to look at it later. But we do know that he was armed, and we do know that at the time that we made contact, he still had the firearm with him, a firearm with him. So that was yet to be determined. You know, it's dark. It was like a little after 3 a.m. So we have to determine that in part of the investigation. Just giving commands to stop, put your hands up. The officer said, "Stop, put your hands up. Let me see your hands. I'm going to shoot you." Trying to gain compliance from the individual that he knew was armed at the time that he went to confront the individual. So, I'm sorry. It doesn't. It happened so quickly. Again, we're going to have to look at the video a little closer. But no, he was running when the weapon was discharged by the officer.
So just once again, just recap. Officers were looking at just camera.
Yeah.
Mesh camera.
Well, we're looking at mesh cameras, which is our public safety system that we have in our city that helps us monitor activity and to try to keep the community safe and to try to solve crimes as well.
So looking at mesh cameras, and officers were looking at the bus stop.
This bus stop right there, you're putting there, but the bus stop right over here. That white police car and the Tahoe right by it are the two initial officers that were actually doing the proactive police work. We want our officers to not just come out here and just drive around when they have the time. As busy as they are, they know where their problem areas are, and they were actually monitoring it when they saw the gun come out, and that's when they came immediately. And stopped there. Suspect started running. See where the Century Square behind us is? That's where he was running. The commands were yelled out. Let me see your hands, or I'm going to shoot. Something to that effect. And then several rounds were discharged by one officer.
And then that's when the police spoke and continued to the individual over here.
Yes, as soon as they were able to get enough officers, because the individual was initially not complying with, they know there's a gun there, they didn't want to just walk up and potentially get shot. And once they were able to get sufficient officers, they moved up. They took him into custody, detained him, made sure that they got the gun out of the way where he couldn't have access to it, and immediately started CPR. AFR arrived within a minute or two. After that, assumed patient care, primary patient care, transported him to the hospital. I just gave you the timeline. Unfortunately, he succumbed to his wounds at University Hospital. So, you know, my thoughts go out to, we don't ever want to see anybody lose their life. So, you know, my thoughts go out to the individual's family, because regardless of whether a shooting is justified or not, we've lost a life, and, you know, no one wants to get that call or that knock on the door that they've lost a loved one. But again, the investigation will continue. I can almost assure you that this street will be shut down. Colfax at Havana will be shut down probably for another 3 or 4 hours until it gets processed by CERT team and our CSI, crime scene investigators.
How far away were the officers?
That was very close. The distance was very close. So.
So they were nearby.
Oh, I'm not sure exactly where, but they were nearby monitoring the intersection.
The officers that came and responded to on scene, were they the same ones?
The same ones, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the ones that were watching the mesh cam, doing proactive police work, saw the assault or potentially felony menacing with the firearm, immediately responded, put it out, saw the suspect running, gave commands right in front of them, I might add, right by them, and then the shooting happened. Okay, anything else? Thank you all. Thanks for your patience. Appreciate you, and we will give updates as they become necessary, either with press releases or a press conference if necessary. Thank you very much for your patience.